I'm going to share an automation idea that when we started implementing it, I think is the major difference why some of our customers make millions and a lot of other companies struggle to get results when they try to automate things. So imagine for a moment that the smartest person in the world, highest IQ ever, they've taken every aptitude test, and they've got they're Mensa top level, whatever. They graduated from Harvard and MIT, and they have 17 PhDs. They're going to do brain surgery on you, but it's the first time they've ever done brain surgery. And you ask them, like, have you ever done brain surgery before? And they say, no, but I've read all the SOPs. I've seen all the process maps. I have watched every single video that's ever been produced on brain surgery. So I've studied it very extensively, and I understand the process. The question is, would you trust them to do brain surgery on you or somebody you love? The answer probably is no. And it has... I think this concept reveals, or this thought exercise reveals, the difference between a documented, articulated process and a transference of trust. Okay? The same thing would be true if you had like a robot, right? Is a robot like making brain surgery, but then the robot has never like done brain surgery before? Would you trust it and allow it to do brain surgery? No. And when a lot of companies come to us, they want us to build a piece of technology as quickly as possible, and they say, here's our process. We'll tell you our process, and so we don't do it that way. The way that we have the actual question we're trying to answer is not how fast can we build technology. It's how fast can we accurately and completely get trust from your team or the team that we're working with, that our tool that we built will work for that use case. And that trust, as with any human trusting anything else or anybody else, happens slowly. It's like learning to drive. You don't really fully relax into the driving experience until you take lessons in driving. And so I'll describe what we actually do, and you can copy this process, and some of the challenges that we encounter along the way. Or have encountered along the way. So we do a discovery call and find out if we can help somebody and the extent to which we can help them, right? Quick call. The next thing we always do is we call it a company brain. And I used to think this was just a flow chart, and it would take us a long time to do the flow chart. What I realize is actually happening here is we ask a company to describe their process end to end, from them getting a lead all the way through to getting what we call a testimonial worthy result. And the effect that happens always is we start to document this process, and people say, oh, now that I kind of see it, I'm reminded of the fact that this problem has happened here, and we'd like to be able to do this over here. And we start to extract from them everything they wish they could track in their process end to end, and every problem they wish they could solve. And sometimes people will say, cool, like now that I've got the company brain, and it takes like 3 to 5 Zoom calls roughly, and it's 2 of us on our team doing this, and maybe 1 or 2 people from the company, and it's like a long process, right? They say, now that we've done this amazing requirements document, how long does it take to build everything that we talked about here? And there's been a couple of times where we've agreed to quote on a project in that way, and it hasn't ever gone as well as it could have otherwise. And the reason is because there's layers of trust that need to be transferred in someone's head. So if I say to somebody, hey, let's just do the whole thing, it's kind of like reading a book on brain surgery. The book is able to capture what we call the declarative process, but there's layers of skill and exception and thought that are not in the book. And the book seems like an accurate reflection to somebody who knows it, but they're not really in the book in a complete sense, with every single thing written out. And if they are, even if somebody read the book and they said they understood it, you would still want to see the skill and the ability demonstrated slowly. Okay, so what we actually do is we start with just we realize somebody has to trust the underlying data for them to trust the automations and the graphs and the alerts that happen on the data. And that's one of the reasons why we never, ever build something on top of a Google Sheet or ClickUp or whatever, because it's possible for the users to make a mistake in the data and then lose trust in the underlying data. And so the number one problem, or like one big problem that we see in service businesses is they use ClickUp for a little bit, and then they're like, well, ClickUp isn't working. Like, let's now switch to Basecamp, and we'll switch to Asana, and we have like a little bit of Trello and like a little bit of Google Sheets. And no one tool is perfect, and so they start to add on different tools on top. And so nobody really trusts the underlying data, and they have to keep on rechecking. There's extra process and extra work that gets kind of invented to compensate and recheck and second guess, right? So we always start with the database, and we build that database to lock down the offer structure that a client does. So if you have, like, ClickUp will work for a website development company and a construction company and whatever, but a system that we build for a construction company will never work for a website development company because it's built specifically to allow for a construction company to expand rapidly, which then means that we have to lock it down in certain ways. Okay, so we start with the database. We start with transferring trust in memory. So the effect that we get is people say, oh, now that I see the data, they start to realize, like, oh, I can store information there, and I no longer have to store that information in my head. And slowly what happens is kind of like going for a walk or washing the dishes or going, having a shower. When your mind is calmer, you start to come up with other ideas, other insights. So one of the things that always happens is people come up with feedback, which is something that I thought was originally because we just didn't ask the perfect question in our requirements gathering process, but now I realize is a benefit or is a feature, not a bug of our process, right? We want to create this continual transference of trust because it's the continual transference of trust into a new system that helps people reclaim bandwidth, that helps them come up with better ideas for their process, come up with strategic ideas to grow the business and actually scale, okay? And then, of course, after the database is built, we start to add on functionality. We add on functionality in the slowest way that we possibly can, and in a very deliberate way. So if somebody wants certain things automated too soon, we'll say no because of how flexible the process is still. And so the job of our whole process, the whole Ops Kings methodology is basically build certain things, like the sequencing is very, very important, and the context of where the business is at and how rigid and flexible we need to be so that trust transfers completely and accurately without breaking the trust, with having a smooth transference of user ability and encouraging the users to give more and more feedback at every stage. That is the thing that I think is the process, or the strategy that has caused our clients to get the best results, and is the thing that is the most important thing to me, right? In terms of how we get results. We've built things in no-code tools and code tools and certain dashboards for certain industries, whatever. And the thing that remain the constant is when we build things with optimal trust transference, our clients get the best results. And it's weird. I wish we could say that we have some special AI agent that does this amazing thing for your entire company and automates the whole company. But really, all we're doing is taking thinking that your team is doing and slowly offloading it, transferring it to a system. And we know that when we have that happen, your team will thrive. They will have more free time. They will come up with other ideas, and your clients will get better results. You will make more money. Your business will scale. They will interrupt you less. You will have the ability to take on customers and know that your customers will get better results as well. And so I hope that analogy helps you. So if you're ever thinking about doing any sort of operations improvement, automation, AI thing, think about it in terms of transferring trust to an expert person you would, there would be a part of you, like the emotional side of you, that would really want that to happen quickly, easily, as a magic bullet. But the reality is, if anybody, for anybody who's ever hired anybody ever or trained anybody ever, there's a feeling after you find someone who's really, really good at what they do that there should have been a shortcut to getting there. But the reality is, I think the best way to train a new person or to build a new system is to start relatively simple, trust that at least the data is there, then the core workflows are there, then you start to layer on prioritization and charts and automation onto that, and like the effect that's happening is not building technology. The effect that's happening is transference of trust, transference of cognition, and I so far haven't found a faster way to do that than to do it in stages. I wish there was a magic bullet, but so far I haven't found it. So hopefully you enjoyed that thought. Let me know if you have any questions, and peace.